Momento Mori. It means remember that you're mortal, or remember that you are going to die. It's a reminder that's important for all of us, particularly those of us that are getting close to being financially independent, whether you're in your 30s or 40s or 50s, and you're getting ready to think about retiring, right? It's just so easy to put off retirement for another year. So Momento Mori, remember that you're mortal. I like that because not only are we going to die, but probably before we die, we're going to lose our health. You've heard me say, if you're 60 years old, you likely have less than 1,000 weeks, unfortunately, 1,000 weeks remaining of healthy, active time. That's not a lot of time. So we want to make sure we're taking full advantage of it. You know, Seneca had a phrase, and I'm sorry, this is kind of an extra stoic type of video today, but Seneca has a phrase: it's not that life is short, but that we waste too much of it. And, you know, I think regular viewers of this channel are trying to make the most of their life, but it's so easy to just get in our routines and forget about how little time that we have, and that we need to make the most of it, and we need to invest in oourselves to keep up our health, to keep up our energy, to keep up our activities, so we can make the most of the time that we do have. So I think it's a super important concept to think about, and I don't think of it as kind of a scary thing to think about, that I'm going to die. I think it's an important reminder. And sometimes, like, you know, I want to take a trip, but, you know, there's this hassle, or, you know, the airfare increased by $150, and do I still want to take it? And Momento Mori, and also making decisions from the vantage point of in my life when I've lost my health, looking back and saying, okay, was that a good decision that you chose to not spend the extra $150 and take that trip? Probably not. So those things help me keep true to myself. And also, you know, you want to think, you know, let's not rush through life. Let's enjoy it. You know, there's so much stress, particularly if you're still working. There can be a lot of stress in our day-to-day lives, and how can we squeeze as much enjoyment out of the process as we can? How can we stay true to ourselves if we're still working? And maybe the boss is asking, you know, every weekend for you to come in. You know, occasionally I think it's fine, right? You're part of a team, you're trying to get things done. But if it becomes every weekend, you know, we have to stick up for ourselves. So for me, Momento Mori is an important reminder. I'm mortal. My time is valuable. Once time passes, I can never get that back, right? I have other ways where I can make additional money, but I have no way to get my time back, right? I mean, I've talked in this video, in my videos in the past, you know, when I was in my 20s, just out of college, I mean, that was a really special time. And I've shared that, you know, for a financial advisor, and this channel is not financial advice, right? This is, I don't know your situation, so I cannot give you financial advice, but I can share some of my experiences and give you some ideas to think about and some concepts that you can do your own research on. And so for like 20-year-olds, as a financial advisor, I'm unusual. I'll say, you know, if you have an opportunity to do something really fun, with your friends, you should go do it. And don't worry so much about saving your money in your 20s. Now, you know, at some point you have to get serious about saving money. But frankly, you know, it's hard to save much money. The real value is developing the discipline of saving money in your 20s. But don't overemphasize that, you know. Optimize on life. You've heard me say this as opposed to your bank account, but you have to balance it, right? So let's keep going with this Momento Mori, because I think there's a lot that people that are thinking about retiring. Maybe you've been fortunate and you're in your 50s, and you know, you can retire, and you're wondering, should I retire? And I think this Momento Mori will help you make the decision that's right for you. I'm not suggesting that you should retire. You know, if you're fortunate and you love your job, great, you know, keep working if it's giving you a lot of satisfaction. But, you know, be honest with yourself, because over a third of Americans I'm sorry, only less than a third of Americans say that they love their jobs when they're surveyed confidentially, where they don't have to say who they are. Only less than a third of Americans say that they love their job. And I think a litmus test for that is just ask yourself, you know, if you won the lottery, let's say you won $100 million, do you really think you'd still be at your job a year later? I think it's a very, very rare person that would say, yes, I'd still be at my job a year later. And, you know, if you're financially independent, right, think about what's the difference between winning the lottery or not winning the lottery. If you have more than enough money to live the lifestyle that you want, there's really, you know, you can do a lot of good for causes that you care about, maybe your kids and various heirs that you might give that money to. That'd be a wonderful thing. This isn't a sponsored video, but if you won the $100 million and don't know who to give it to, you can think about your friend Azul on YouTube. But, you know, that's a litmus test. If you won $100 million, would you still be at work 6 months from now, 12 months from now? I think 99.9% of the people would say no. And so if you've already won, you know, it would be a shame to have won this game of life. It's tough enough the way it is. And if you've been able to make enough good decisions, if you've been able to sacrifice and save up money, you've invested it wisely. Remember, it's not enough to save. You also have to invest. You've invested it wisely and you've won. You know, it would really be a shame not to reach out and grab that brass ring and enjoy the fruits of that situation. Because what you don't want to do is have won, and if you really don't love your job, keep working, and then, you know, you're 65 or 70 and you're like, what did I do? You know, I made all these sacrifices earlier in my life, and when it came time to benefit from it, I didn't take advantage of that. And I don't want to see that happen to you. I've mentioned this book before. There's two books that I think are really excellent for people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, even, you know, above that as well. But one book's called Die with Zero by Bill Perkins. Excellent book. He doesn't really mean to die with zero, though maybe in a little way he does. It doesn't mean you don't leave your kids any money, I should say, if you have kids. But he has this whole concept that he shares that there's certain periods of time that you can do certain things, and you have to take full advantage of when they're there. And if you pass away with additional money, he would argue if you want to leave your kids money, you should leave your kids money earlier in their life, because, you know, most of us, a lot of us, you know, when we pass away, hopefully, you know, we're going to live a good long time, and our kids will be in their late 40s, early 50s when we pass away. And, you know, frankly, they probably don't need the money then. They need it when they're younger. So Bill would say, give that money to your kids earlier. And any unused money above and beyond that when you pass away are activities and memories and passions that you could have pursued that you didn't. So that's one book, and I think it lines up really well with this Momento Mori. I should share that it's a core concept for me. This, you know, I never really knew what the Stoics were. You know, to be honest, it was like I thought Stoics were people that were sacrificing unnecessarily, and I'm not a fan of that. But really, Stoic, and I learned this from Tim Ferriss. He has a lot of podcasts on Stoicism. But the word Stoic in Greek just meant porch. So it was the students of people like Marcus Aurelius, and probably students of Seneca, sitting on their porch at their house and learning from, you know, who they considered to be the master. So the word Stoic just means, in Greek, just means porch, and it's learning these life lessons from those that have gone before us. And I'm fully behind that. I think that makes a lot of sense. So that's my Momento Mori philosophy. You'll probably see more videos like this. I did mention there's two books. The first one was Die with Zero by Bill Perkins. The second one is a book called Strength to Strength. And I think a lot of reason why people don't retire when they've already won, when they have enough money to retire, is, you know, they don't know what they're going to do with their time. They enjoy the challenge of working in the professional setting, but maybe, you know, not in the same way. They're ready to make a change. And Strength to Strength is written by Arthur Brooks. I was going to say last name is Brooks, but I remembered his first name, Arthur Brooks. Great story, book about, how to transition so that we don't peak. We're not peaking in our career, but we're transitioning from one thing, from strength to strength. And I really encourage you to buy the book, but he just says that, the types of things we do when you're younger, you're more of an individual contributor and you're coming up with new ideas and new advancements. And as we get older, really our strength comes in teaching and in sharing that knowledge. So I think that's super helpful. Let me just take a quick look at my notes, see if there's anything else. Yeah, I have a couple other things. I think thinking about death is something, humans have always thought about. We've always struggled throughout human history. What is the purpose of life? And, what's my views on death? What happens there? And the quote I had from Seneca and Momento, Mori gets credited by a Roman emperor, Marcus Aurelius. Thoughts on Meditation, I think, is his book, something along that line. But, here's what is interesting. Marcus Aurelius lived almost 2,000 years ago. And, they didn't have television back then. They didn't have cars. They didn't have airplanes. Certainly didn't have smartphones that they can communicate to the 2 billion users on YouTube. 1 billion, I understand, active monthly users. That's just insane, right? So the world was very different, but the deep, important questions, I think, were very similar to what they are today. What's the purpose of life? How do I live a fulfilling and rewarding life that's been fulfilling and rewarding for me, but also gives back to society? So I find it interesting to see that those issues are the same now that they were a dozen years ago. And I want to leave you with a quote by Marcus Aurelius. Again, 2,000 years ago, he said that. And he says, actually, I'm going to leave you with 2 quotes if you want to hang on. But before I give you those quotes, in case I lose some people, thumbs for likes. It really does help the algorithm. As the kids say, thumbs for likes, subs for love. Leave me a comment. I love reading your comments. We're building a great community. And now let me leave you with these 2 quotes. Okay, Marcus Aurelius, who died in 180 after Christ, 180 years after the birth of Christ. Okay, Marcus Aurelius says, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, what you say, and what you think. Okay, so I think that reminder, the Momento Mori, is super helpful. Do yourself a favor. They have coins that have the phrase Momento Mori on it. And then Ryan Holiday, Ryan's name is R-Y-A-N, Holiday, I believe is H-O-L-I-D-A-Y. He has a calendar, which lists out your 4,000 weeks that, if you live to be 80, I think is where we get the 4,000 weeks roughly from. And there's a dot for each of our 4,000 weeks. I have not bought one yet, but it's my birthday's coming up. It's going to be on my birthday list because I think it's a good reminder to, every week fill in that dot with a magic marker and just think, did I use this week wisely? Okay, I told you I was going to leave you with 2 quotes. The other one's by Seneca. A lot of Stoics are followers of Seneca or his teachings. And Seneca says, you are afraid of dying, but how is the way, you are afraid of dying, but how is the way you are living any different than being dead? And what he's saying there, that's kind of harsh, right? What he's saying there is we're not living up to our full potential. And it kind of goes full circle back to what I was talking about earlier, like when there's these adventures and, something doesn't go my way, or, I know it's going to be a hassle getting into the country, like during COVID, at the tail end of COVID, I started traveling and, there were all these additional hoops you had to jump through, rightfully so. But it was inconvenient, right? And I'm super glad that I made the decision and said, I'm going to put up with the inconvenience. I'm going to travel. I'm going to take advantage of the fact while I can travel and do these trips. So Seneca is saying, you know, you worry about dying, but you're not living your life to the fullest. So that's what I'll leave you on. Let's all live our lives to the fullest. As you know, I'm into adventure. I'm into passion and doing things that make us feel fully alive. I think that's really important. And the longer we can hold on to the spirit of that, the better. So with that, I will say goodbye. Thanks for watching. Again, thumbs for likes, subs. Thumbs for likes, subs for love. If you haven't subscribed, think about subscribing. Leave me comments. I love hearing from you. Let me know if you found this video helpful. And until next time, I'm Azul, encouraging you to take full advantage of the youth of your senior years. Remember, we're only young once. Let's live our lives to the fullest. And Momento, Mori. Remember, we're going to die. I'm going to die. You're going to die. We're all going to die. And probably before that happens, we're going to lose our health. So let's take full advantage of it while we can. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.